Your woman wants you to stand up to her. The woman that you are with wants you to stand up to her. Women will want you to stand up to them. Let me tell you why. Standing up to someone means that you are clear in your voice, that you are speaking from your heart. You don't stand up to someone in an aberrant way. You do it with compassion. You do it with love. You do it from a place of deep, deliberate intention. You do it from a place of understanding yourself, of knowing what your needs are, of knowing what your values are. Of course, anyone in your life will want you to stand up to them in that way. They want you to express, to be self-expressed, to feel fully, and then bring that to the relationship. That's honesty. That's transparency. That's truth. Who wants to be surrounded by lies? In my own life, I spent so much of my time hiding behind masks. I wore these masks to protect myself, to protect my fears, to avoid going deep into my own pain and my own suffering. We all do this. We all avoid what we can't face. And we go into this shadow self, when we go into the aspect of ourselves that is uncomfortable, that is painful, that hurts, that we may even label or judge as disgusting or yuck or ugly. When we go to those places, we increase our spectrum of who we are. The woman in your life wants you to do that. She wants to know that you can go anywhere on that spectrum. And that's what we're talking about. Our ability to set healthy boundaries, to stand up to someone, doesn't always necessarily mean that cliche of that individual standing up to the bully. It's more than that. It doesn't mean the person is bullying you or the person is wrong or the person is being antagonistic. When we're standing up to someone, what we're saying is, this is who I am. I'm standing tall in my presence. I'm standing tall in my power. I'm standing tall in who I am, and I'm able to express that to you with a deep sense of clarity and understanding of my needs. And I'm now going to share those needs with you. So if you think for a minute, brothers, men, if you think for a minute, for a second, for an iota of a second, a split second, that the woman in your life, your partner, does not want you to stand up to her in a healthy way, caveat that, parentheses, in a healthy way, then you're delusional. The truth of it is, we want to be surrounded by truth. We want to be surrounded by what is real. And that will always be our preference because that is safe. When we look at biology, our biology wants to know what's going on in its environment. It wants to be surrounded by the known. It fears the unknown. It moves away from the unknown. It is resistant to the unknown. However, there can also be great depth and beauty and truth in the unknown. When we're talking about psychology and society and the way we socially relate, we move away from people that are untrustworthy. And let me tell you what makes you trustworthy. Speaking your truth from a place of love and compassion and clarity. Knowing who you are, knowing your healthy boundaries, and accessing. This is potentially the most important part of it. Accessing your emotions and accessing who you are and accessing what you're feeling and experiencing without numbing it. For me personally, if someone in my life is repeatedly not accessing who they are or parts of who they are and they're in consistent avoidance, it makes it difficult for me to trust them. I'll give you another example. If people struggle to really be angry in a healthy way and they can't access their anger, I will struggle to trust them. Let that, and I've said this before, let that sit with you for a moment. What does that really actually mean? Where does that come from? Our ability to access our emotions at any given point in time in a different variety of ways. Our ability to access anger when we're feeling anger. Our ability to access sadness when we're feeling sadness. And then bring that to the relationship in a healthy way. After we've reflected on it, after we've sat with it, after we've felt it, after we've moved through it. That's power. I have a practice, a personal practice, one of many. I want to share one of my personal practices with you here. And one of them is accessing breath, sound, and movement. It's something that we all have access to as human beings, breath, sound, and movement. I'll combine this practice when I'm feeling really stuck in my body. Because we have to understand that we have our brain, we have our cognitive brains here in the head. We have our neurons that act as this way of understanding and receiving the world and then processing the world. But we also have sensory neurites in our heart as well. And our heart largely corresponds with how our bodies absorb our environment. The enteric system and our nervous system largely is responsible for many things, but responsible for how we absorb our environment. And our memories and the experiences that we have are not only stored in our brains, in our cognition. We don't only have a mental association with them, we also have a bodily and an emotive association with them. Now, everything's interconnected. Everything is happening in deep cohesion. It can either happen in a really unhealthy way, in a disconnected, disjointed way, or in a healthy, cohesive way, where there is coherence in the heart and in the brain. And so when we start to equilibrate our past, when we allow ourselves to feel, when we deal with the trauma of our past, when we deal with the pain that we've developed or that we've experienced in our world, and we deal with it in a bodily way and in a mental, emotional, spiritual way, we start to integrate at deeper levels. We become wiser in our being, and we begin to let the past go, and we live more presently. We live with freedom. And so one of the practices that I have around breath, sound, and movement is when I'm really struggling to move stuff from me, when I'm angry about something. Maybe I had a run-in with someone during the day, and the way they spoke to me and what they criticized my service in the world. They criticized my expression. They criticized who I was. They weren't happy with the way I spoke to them or served them in any capacity. If I take that personally and I become very tense in the body around that, and I do nothing to shift it, it will remain with me as a memory. And it will come up every time I am perhaps criticized. Every time it will come up unconsciously through the feeling body. And so in that moment, I have a practice of sitting down, breathing very deeply, and then on the exhale, I'll start to sound, and I'll make mental associations with what I'm experiencing. I'll ask questions such as, is this feeling serving me right now? Do I need to hang on to this? What is it representing? Is it a projection of me, of an aspect of my own shadow self? Is it reminding me of someone, or is it reminding me of aspects of myself in the past or present? Is it reminding me of a situation? And then I'll breathe and I'll sound. I'll make an exhale. And as I exhale, I'll sound on the exhale. And then I may move. I may move my spine, or I may move my shoulders. And I'll combine these techniques, breath, sound, and movement. And I start to move this energy through me. And it's deliberate. And this helps me get clear on what it is that I need, what it is that I want, and what it is that I need to move through. Then I can bring that to my wife. I can bring that to her. I can bring that to my beloved. And I can say, because I have greater clarity, I can say, hey, this is what I've experienced. So standing up to your partner is not just saying, no, hey, that behavior doesn't serve me. It's not just saying, no, that behavior is not what I am willing to tolerate. It's also expressing self. It's also going deeper into self and allowing someone else to see you. That's part of standing up to your partner. Because then when you stand up, you stand with. And when you stand with, then you co-create, and that's powerful. So our ability to stand up to our partners and really speak our truth and set healthy boundaries in a compassionate, loving way is equally as important as sharing who we are and co-creating together, co-collaborating together. And that's power. And then we start to develop greater cohesion in relationship and a greater fluency in relationship as well. And then we feel connected, we feel bonded, we feel seen, and we're able to see others. Bound blessings to you, people. I'll speak to you soon.